our first team today, two of us have already rated them already in the bottom 10, but one of us has not. We haven't discussed them at length, and that is going to be the Los Angeles Gladiators. For myself, at 11th, Joe, 12th.
Yes. That seems low.
Yeah, so 10th, 11th, and 12th for all of us.
It's not 11th, but there's reasons. There's reasons.
10th, 11th, and 12th. I mean, come on. That's pretty close. And not all of us had the privilege of putting Chengdu 16th and get that spot back. So, okay, let's just slow our roll for a second. LA Gladiators. Let's talk about them first. So the Los Angeles Gladiators are largely a very new team. Just Big Goose and Shaz holding down support here. Let's Yiska, because you've got them rated the highest. I want to ask you why you've got them in your top 10.
What about them sells you? What's the selling point to this roster?
I think so for one, I think they have a pretty amazing coaching staff now.
Yes.
They got two of the most or what I consider to be success. Two of the most successful former contenders coaches in FaZe and
Faustus.
Yeah,
DPei.
Curry shot. Yes. And in that regard, like I think Faustus is that's the third name actually with AT back in the day. That seems to be a very, very good coaching staff to me that should be able to at least strategically get a lot out of them. Also, when the meta changes often, I think those would theoretically be flexible enough to adapt to those situations more often or quicker. 100%. So that inherently boosts their rating.
Before we get off coaches, would you say that the coaching staff is their best lineup? So if we take supports, tanks, DPS, would you say that the coaches are the best? I
comparatively to the others, yes.
I think the coaching staff is the selling point to this roster. It's not the DPS. I think the support line.
No, you won't see me defending DPS on that roster. Right. Now, if we get back to old meta archetypes, where the DPS aren't as important, that could suit this team. I think that tank line has potential to be very good, though I wonder how flexible Space will be. And I think off tanks will have to be very flexible, but this almost serves as a justification to me to not put them even higher. I think OGE has amazing potential. I think Space, if we're actually in a Diva meta, like that is, and by the way, whoever said that, that's not what I heard. I heard one team plays, or the one team I heard about that played Ryan Diva was Vancouver. Like that's I don't have an idea on the entire. That's the reason why we don't have a Scrimbox Stock Exchange article yet, because the meta kept changing so much that there wasn't anything meaningful to say. Now I kind of conceived of it. I'll just give you all the information. Like they were good there, weren't good there, and then that sort of tells a story about adaptability. Maybe, I don't know. But in terms of that. It's possible apparently to play that. I'm not sure if that's actually established meta.
But that's a good thing to super tangent, but that's a good thing. We're having disagreements. Well, not necessarily. I'm just generally for the league. We're having disagreements on, we don't think that hero is good. We think this hero does a better job in this role, in this position. So that's what we play. Disagreements, I think, is really going to give people the versatility in hero diversity that they want.
I'll also say, like, I heard, for instance, Samito say, like, McCree's still, like, too vulnerable. I've literally heard Overwatch League coaches say he's invulnerable now.
A lot of people. So what I'm hearing right now is a lot of McCree. So a lot of McCree actually being played, and he's very good. And he's basically kind of tossed. There's some teams still trying to, like, exploit Hammond and Wrecking Ball. and stuff. And between McCree and May, you're just like, well,
you can't dive into that.
What do you do there, right?
Yep.
So
it's not live, but people, of course, are
they're scrimming on PTR.
Oh, is a 50 HP McCree got reverted?
Got reverted.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
But they're not screaming on PTR. I don't think they're screaming 250 all the time.
Well, not all the time. No, not all the time. But I think some of their scrims were probably split.
Yeah. Other than that,
Gladiators.
Okay, Gladiators. So I think there's some questions to the front line, especially like in terms of like, okay, can OG actually pop off and deliver on the potential that he was promised to have by so many coaches now?
Yes.
Then I think their backline is just solid. They're probably never going to be like a liability for you. Probably also won't be elite.
Nope.
I don't think they were ever elite, honestly. And then, the DPS line is, of course, like a colorful bag of skills. I'm being told Birdring is finding himself right now, and it makes sense to a degree that,
of course,
like once you get him out of that that environment, that this happens. Maybe he is just like a stone the entire season, and we'll have to see how this works. The other two are question marks for me. And as we heard with what DPei said, like they still have a slot open. It would, I would see that to be like either DPS part or if you need another off tank, depending on the meta switches, whatever.
I don't
see.
know if I agree that Mirror is a question mark.
I think he is.
Honestly,
I think we've seen him in GOATs play Zarya very well, but I haven't seen him lately do anything with any other heroes. I really
Reaper and Hanzo are fine. Slip above average.
Sure, but the thing is, what's fine in what context?
I mean, is Doom but I mean, he doesn't have to. I don't know. I don't think that he has to be a top 5 flex DPS to make this a top 10 team. To be fair, and I had them at 11, and I actually wanted them at 10, but I put Toronto Defiant twice. So, there's that. I don't know. I think Birdring is the question mark for me, honestly. I'm the resident idiot, but I think we know Jaru's hero pool, and I think that on those heroes he'll be fine. If he has to flex off that, sure, question mark. But if he gets to stay within the heroes that he's comfortable with, great. Birdring is a mental nightmare.
I think that whole lineup is a mental nightmare. I don't think this DPS line is incredibly stoic in the slightest. I think OGE can be paired within that as well. And that's my big point. I think where we differ the most is how important a DPS lineup could be, especially this season within Rollock. I think DPS in general have gotten a lot more theoretical kind of investment of like where you're going to place your money and what roles. I think in the past, tanks and supports were your money ball players, if you want to call them that. You want to get them. Well, if anything, it was the DPS, but you would put more investment into your tanks and supports because they give you the most value, right? I think this season in general, I think you're going to want to have strong DPS more so than any other meta or season.
Does Mirror have a May?
I don't
think he does. And Birdring played not Doomfist, Reaper in Reaper May meta, right?
Yeah.
So
even before that,
I know Jaru has a May. Jaru is the only one that I know that I feel like I've seen extensively on May.
I really dislike.
So this. I'm assuming that they have Reaper Mirror working on May. They want Birdring to stay kind of on that flex because as it stands right now, May is pretty staple.
Yeah, 100%. And you're comparing them to the strongest conference. Like we'd all be in agreement to say the PAC is probably the stronger conference, right?
They are in Pacific, sure.
Right. Yeah. That's difficult to me to say that this DPS lineup, Mirror might have been good before. But when you're comparing him to Chengdu's DPS, Charge's DPS, not Spark, Seoul's DPS, Shanghai's DPS, Shock's DPS, Titan's DPS.
Not close.
It's not close.
It's
not
really
close
not
at all.
close.
So wherever we're at with the
only
DPS
10
line,
teams. There's only 10 teams in Pacific, right? So like I get the justification for 10.
So I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't hate 10. I think again, our disagreement comes in on how much we weigh the DPS. I weigh them a little bit more.
I can't. I wish I could argue with you more on Mirror, but I can't hold a.
I don't really have an argument so much as I don't think. I don't really see him doing all that much. I think he'll be fine, and that's where they fit. Play-ins.
Yeah. Just to explain, I feel like I have to explain why I don't have them higher, not why I don't have them lower. That's
really
like I think, yeah, that's my feeling on this team.
I get that. I kind of feel it. So I had to step out during like the tank conversation, but I think something that gets missed too is that OGE wanted to go to the Gladiators and he wanted to play with space. Like that was the big deciding reason. So like, yes, you're right. It's a volatile there as well. And OGE, I don't know. I think people overplay how he underperformed, but
he was on a pretty mediocre team. Let's face it, guys.
Mediocre roster who is kind of making a name for themselves for having really frustrating coaches to work with. So, like I don't want to write off OGE as just not coming to LA Gladiators and popping off. We saw Gladiators. I think they performed to our expectations, but I would say they still kind of outperformed overall last year. And I think a lot of that has to do with just the coaching staff in general. DPei, shoulder check jokes aside,
they've assembled
has clearly found a way to make that. And you talked about it earlier. Curry Shot is largely. We've had multiple coaches come on the show and talk about how he is, if not one of the best strategic coach, for sure Western strategic coach in the game right now.
That's their strongest lineup.
And I agree with that.
The coaching staff is the strongest lineup for the Gladiators. If there's any team that is going to squeeze blood from a stone, it's this team. If you're looking for the team that wants to be more than the sum of their parts, and I don't even think this roster is like all that bad, but if they're going to like really outperform, it's going to be the coaches, hands down.
Do you think LH Cloudy plays wrecking ball for this team?
That's hard to say. Maybe if that's being run, and it might be run like later in the season when betas change and stuff. But I actually kind of think that they'll probably trade him. I think he'll be trading.
I recall some aspect where he talked about like having to be on ball duty and how there was an issue with him having to flex around that during his Paris stint that made it so he felt less confident in his overall level of play because he couldn't really grind into a hero. Now, I'm not sure if that has anything to. Sadly, I don't recall the source of that information, but I'm not sure if it really had anything to do with ball and his like him not wanting to play it. I think it's more that you kind of want to know your role and what you need to grind into, and then become good at that.
His role was just always changing.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. By the way, I said something dumb earlier, saying like the Gladiators could be using their last roster slot on an off tank. Of course, not the case, because I think it's actually quite a bit of a vote of confidence that both DPei and also Curry Shot, being his former coaches, brought him back. Like, at the very least, what you can say is that he's probably a glue player.
Who's he?
Bishu.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think
don't see him playing
play.
though.
I think Space is the wonderkin here.
I think it depends. Even with that, doesn't he have like a nagging like health issue that he has to kind of like keep in check?
Sure.
I think that's my big thing. That in the locker room, you want to have him be the Mickey character and be that glue guy. Totally, I'm all for it. But I really struggle to see where he finds playtime.
Yeah, I mean that the thing is that doesn't bar him from grinding into a specific off tank role. That like we I think we can expect that there's some inflexibility in space.
Can we not? No, I like that's my podium. I think that space in general is leading the pack when it comes to like questionable flex tanks. We've only seen them play D.Va for such a long time. Where else can they play? A lot of people point towards World Cup and his Sigma play and the USA winning gold medal.
Sure.
Woo-woo. But
I mean, yes, but that sort of gave him a lot of wind-up time to learn that hero.
Sure.
And this is not an off tank, so like maybe there's less transitional property, but when he was asked to play Sombra, another player that was
Jax comes in.
Taken over, and it's not like this kid had any like large experience on Sombra. Like we had promise on the show saying, okay, I needed to teach him that in 3 days. So like teachability, especially for off tanks, I think Satcher is right, and I think we like we said it earlier like at the end or like at the start of the off season, this was always going to be the case that like if patch changes happen very often, it's very likely that it's going to be breaking Sigma, and then also it won't stay on D.Va for as long as it did beforehand. So the off tank hero pool, the skill sets you require in that very specific hero pool is wild.
Yep.
And like not just in terms of like mechanical abilities that you need, like think of what kind of intricacies you need to know or like little techs you could know on ball, for instance. Like every angle, like you're learning maps and whatnot, but it's not just that. You also need to learn different play styles per hero. We've already seen that some players excel at aggressive play styles on a hero and then deflate when they have to play more defensively. So it isn't just that. And the entire, like for instance, I'll tell you right now, I don't think many people think Janu, like from Overwatch League coaches I've talked to, will excel at that either. They all thought his Sigma wasn't amazing. Like he's basically known for his D.Va, and they don't have confidence in him being able to pick that up, and they wonder why the Titans didn't pick up in a second off tank. So I think Satcher is exactly right in saying that this will be a focal point during this entire season where you need either one player is hyper flexible or a player that has like a solid hero pool of like 2 or 3, and then you have another player that grinds 2 or 3 different heroes, and then you got it all.
I can't agree that. So the what I'm gathering here is some uncertainty around space, and I just can't agree with it. But
yeah, to a degree.
And also to be fair, they've got Bishu to keep him accountable, and honestly, they've got. Like, and I'm not saying Bishu's great or anything, but I just like it's not a question of skill. Quite comprehend why space is a question mark here. When you've got OG, you've got I think their DPS is far more volatile. But even then, I think Mirror is. I trust Mirror more than Birdring and Jaru. As far as
I do as well. But even then, I don't think he's like a strong point in the conference or in the league. I think for the team, he's going to be fine. He's going to be like the Shaz of DPS. Like, I don't think he's going to go out and feed, but is he going to win you a game by himself? Whereas a lot of other teams have very strong
he will.
DPS.
Once or twice. I don't think it will be a regular occurrence. Yeah. And not as regular as Birdring used to do it in season 1.
100%. Right. And with space, I go back to the question with the Valiant. It's like we ask, the league is going to ask you to be flexible into playing Sombra, into playing a DPS. He couldn't do it. They brought in another player that could do it. Why is that? I think there's a question of flexibility, and I think we're going to have to apply that to a lot of other flex tanks, and I think we're going to have to apply that to supports. And I've been saying that for a while.
And we also have precedent cases where they showed immense flexibility, such as Fury.
Totally. Yeah.